chat is going crazy. We are fashionably late, which is okay because you guys can wait for these fantastic gentlemen that I have with me here tonight. We have Tyler Jones and Brennan Lafaro. Lafaro.
Close enough. My own co-host doesn't even get it right half the time.
Really?
So, yeah.
It's
he
too
doesn't
funny.
get his own name right half the time.
Oh, he's so gonna watch this.
Whenever I say your last name, I almost want to put like an accent onto it, but I don't know which one, and I think I would completely butcher the accent, so it wouldn't go over very well. But that's okay.
Do whatever you want. People have getting it wrong for 36 years.
Do you need help with mine?
Jones, Mr. Jones.
Yeah. Dumb joke.
Oh man, we have Michael Clark in the chat. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us.
Hey, Mike.
Mike, thank
got
you.
Nat here.
Hello.
Erica's here.
Erica.
Thank you.
I was gonna say we've got some other person here, but that was just me saying hello. My goodness. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Michael.
Hello,
we have
Mike.
another Michael here. We're gonna get confused. Heidi. LJ, thanks for coming.
LJ, thanks,
Emily.
man.
Emily,
Did you see
the
Did you see the cover reveal for LJ's new book? Primal Reserve, I think it's called.
Oh, I did see that go
Looks
by
good.
today. Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Nazis, monsters, jungle.
I was so excited when I got to talk him into using the Dream Team for that because it was such a fantastic cover. Yes. I was like, hey, sold. Cover alone, I'm buying it.
Emily, thank you for joining us.
She was ready at 8:00. So she was like, that's it. I'm ready. And she messaged me. She's like, I'm already ready. And I'm like, you still have half an hour. Hyperactive, all the way from Australia. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us.
Hey.
What time is it in Australia?
14 hours, typically.
14 hours ahead.
Yeah.
So it's, that's right.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, so around noon-ish around there, because I think 16 hours from me, 15, 16 hours. We've got Lydia here, Typical Books. Thanks for coming.
Hey, Lydia.
We've got Linda's World of Books. Priscilla's here.
Hey, Priscilla.
Chad Lutsky.
Chad. Always good to see you.
Perfect.
So interesting piece of information about Australia related to the JFK assassination. Took me 5 minutes before we get into that. So apparently, newspapers in Australia had Lee Harvey Oswald's full bio and articles written about him being the sole shooter, even before he was booked for the crime in Texas, before he had been officially charged and booked into the jail, because Australia being 14 hours ahead, they already had newspapers with all this information printed, which has been something that some investigators have pointed to as coordination.
I can't tell whether that was a long-winded, very dry joke or the truth.
I'm going with the truth.
I don't joke, Brennan. I don't joke. Not about JFK. Never.
I mean, you had me captivated, so I'm going with that's got to be the truth.
Yeah. According to a couple books I've read.
And we've got
Welcome,
Jay that's come in.
Hey, Jay.
And Kelly's jumped in here.
Hello,
My
Kelly.
goodness. All right. So we've got a full house. I'm excited for this because that means everyone's as excited as I am. And so if I make a total goofball of myself, I've got all of you guys to remind me over and over and over again. All right. We've got Andreas that's popped in as well, that it's 2:40 there. Wow. Thank you for always coming and being so supportive all the time.
Yeah.
All right. So we have two fantastic gentlemen with us. I'm going to start with Brennan because he's right beside me. Do you mind introducing yourself, talking a little bit about your work, and then we'll jump over to Tyler?
Not at all. So my name is Brennan Lafaro. I am the author of Slattery Falls, which came out in July from Silver Shamrock. There it is again. So lovely looking. that is my debut novella. It's about 150 pages, just barely short of that novel line, but that's okay. I'm on my way there. I have that out right now, and I have a few short stories out in the world in various anthologies that came out throughout 2021. And I am also the co-host of several podcasts, including Dead Headspace, which interviews creatives in the horror field, mostly writers, but we don't shy away from movies or pretty much anyone involved in the genre at all. We just recorded the season 2 finale on Tuesday with Mr. John Skip, who was an absolute pleasure to have on, really bucket list author to talk to. And I also co-host the Unburying the Dead podcast with Patrick McDonough and Ken McKinley, where we look at older paperbacks and just kind of unpack them. And that has about 6 or 7 episodes out right now as well.
How did I not know about that one?
Oh, you got to check that out. We had an
been?
episode dropped yesterday where we unpacked Ira Levin's Rosemary's Baby with guest host Chuck Palahniuk.
No way.
We did. Went up yesterday. Check it out.
I keep joking.
I started that one today. That was great.
Oh, the dude just had so much insight into that book. That's where I go into listener mode and forget that I'm supposed to be talking about the book as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can definitely relate there. Well, I've got to check that one out. How did I not know? I was just joking around with you guys at the back that I feel like a complete creeper, like a stalker, and I know so much because I see it all on socials, but yet I didn't know about that. I'm offended at myself. Good gracious.
Brennan,
Tyler,
did he
what
talk
about
at
you?
all about his did he talk about his correspondence with Levin at all?
A little bit toward the end, yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely
Sorry,
a
Nichi,
great
you were
reason
saying?
to
No, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, in Ira Levin, I think it was Lullaby that he blurbed. Lullaby or Diary. He blurbed one of Chuck's books too, which was cool. How often do you see an Ira Levin blurb pop up on a book?
Yeah, no, that's a keeper.
Absolutely. Hello, Mr. Morningstar.
Mr. Morningstar.
Thanks for joining us.
It is dark outside here where I am as well.
Yep.
Chuck is a great interview guest, and Rosemary was an amazing novel. Yes.
Yeah, I loved that book.
Sorry, I'm just catching up here. While I catch up on our comments here, Tyler, why don't you introduce yourself and your work?
Okay. Yeah. I'm Tyler Jones. I'm the author of Criterium. That way. The Dark Side of the Room. And most recently, Almost Ruth, which just came out a month ago. And I've got a short story collection called Burn the Plans coming out officially. We just decided today, actually, February 26th, which is a Friday. And then cover reveal coming next week with art by David Mack, who also did the cover for Criterion.
Oh, I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
it'll be cool to actually. It's the title has been out there for a while. I think it's coming out through Cemetery Gates, and we announced the collection, months ago, back right before summer. So it'll be really cool to actually put a cover with that title now. And
yeah. It's got to be so hard as an author, as you're gearing up to release. You've got the title, you get the date, you get the cover, and you just want to just scream it from the rooftops, but you can't. You really got to be, secretive and let it spill slowly and let that, everything kind of bubble and intense for all of us readers that are patiently waiting. So I would be awful. I have no patience. I'm the type of person that buys a gift and the same day it's here. I can't wait for your birthday. Just take it now. Okay, before we get too far into this, Tyler does have an announcement. So I'm going to let him announce that now. And then you guys better hang around to the end or you're going to miss out.
Okay, so Brennan and I are joining forces in a giveaway on this episode.
Yeah.
So the giveaway will be a copy of my brand new book, Almost Ruth, as well as a copy of Slattery Falls, which is fantastic. So we're going to be giving away these books. This giveaway is open to the US and Canada.
Yay!
In order to win these, you have to guess what my favorite Stephen King novel is. And we're going to open up space at the end of the show where you can guess. And we will go until someone gets it right.
The good news is there are only 84 choices.
Yeah. It's pretty narrowed down. Yeah, you're good. But don't guess throughout. We were thinking that maybe we would do that, but then I might end up missing an answer. So wait till the end. When we open up that time, then you can guess. So you can think about this and mull over it while you listen to these fantastic gentlemen talk this evening. 84
and that's
choices.
That's why I picked King, because I could have said, well, what's my favorite Gemma Moore book or my favorite John F. T. Taft book? But with King, it's a little bit,
That's right. Of course, we have to represent Canada, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, we exist.
We always joke around because we always end up missing out on like some of the best giveaways, and we understand because shipping costs are outrageous. So we understand, but it's always like, oh no, I want that so bad. I want to enter. I haven't got my copy of Almost Ruth yet, and I have wanted it from the second I saw you post that cover. I was in love instantly, and I knew that the guts of the story was going to be amazing. So I've got to pick it up. And there was quite a few people that messaged me when they found out you were coming on the show, and they said that Almost Ruth was like their all-time favorite book of this year.
Wow. That's
so
awesome.
I want to start there, if you don't mind, to find out where the idea came from Almost Ruth, what inspired you, and where you came up with the title for it.
It Almost Ruth started as what I thought was going to be a novella about a gravedigger. And I took 2 cracks at the story. Actually, I wrote quite a ways into the story about this gravedigger in an Old West town, but I was thinking Old West not in a traditional sense. So no cowboys, no saloons, none of that. Just I wanted it to feel just out of place, out of time. And I was originally thinking it could even be medieval times, but that just seemed a little bit difficult to pull off. So it's this old Western town and this gravedigger, and he's the sole gravedigger for this town. And in the first 2 attempts, I focused a lot of attention between the relationship between this gravedigger and his wife, Ruth. So the gravedigger's name is Abel. And I ended up scrapping those first 2 attempts to get into the story, but that relationship really stuck with me. And when I started it the 3rd time is when everything really clicked. And it didn't really dawn on me until much later. I think probably after it was written, edited, and almost ready to come out, that I realized I think it's a book about marriage. In a lot of ways, it's about death, but I think at its heart, it is about marriage and the ways in which we shape each other. And it's kind of hard to explain without going into a lot of detail, but that there's something special and unique that happens within that kind of relationship, and what it does to us as people. I think it expands us as people, who we are when we love someone like that. And so, not to make it sound like it's just a mushy book, it is a novel with creepiness and weirdness. Yeah, but that's the heart of it. And so that really gave me the entry point into, because I love horror, but I love horror as long as there are people we genuinely care about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Characters that we can relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Well, I haven't read it yet. Don't shame me, but
no shame. My gosh, there are so many books out there.
Yeah. It's very true. But I tell you, just sitting here just makes me want to dive into it that much sooner. And I got to get myself a copy. I mean, again, no shame for, gosh, there's so many books you have to buy because you have to have the physical cover, especially for photos and stuff. Bookstagrammers, YouTubers, we want to be able to hold them up. And I keep saying I'm going to have to remortgage my house or something. And go on a book buying spree or something.
Seems like a good move. Yeah.
Right? I mean, what's gonna happen?
I see no
think
problems with
deserve
that.
it. Right? Exactly. I deserve it. I absolutely deserve it.
Oh yeah.
Do you read ebooks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll as
Absolutely.
soon as we're done here, I'll send it to you. I can't believe that I haven't done that already. I feel awful.
You did.
I'm the one who should be shamed.
No, you did send me some. I have to double check to make sure that wasn't part of the, because you sent me a couple in an email. I'll have to double check. So, but
Okay.
I still want to go out and buy the physical copies because you got to have those on your shelf, right? I am so lucky that I somehow ended up with 2 copies of Slattery Falls.
That is lucky.
Right?
Yep.
So
You should buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah. But here's the thing is I haven't decided whether I want to give a copy away to a friend and do a buddy read and maybe do a live book review, because sometimes I like to do that on my channel. Or do I keep both of them because one of them has the not for resale band across it, which is like a collector's edition in my eyes.
I mean, you gotta have the matching set. I mean, I'm all for sharing the love, but I mean, when it comes to embiggening my shelves, to borrow a word from The Simpsons, I gotta have every version.
Exactly. And so that's where my mind's at. I'm kind of like, I don't want to give away either of these. But you know what's almost Christmas? What better than to buy books for your friends and family, but yet keep yours and not have to give yours away. So you're still supporting the author. You're still buying books. So it still quenches that, buying want and need just a little bit. And you get to share the love with other people. So maybe that's what I'll do instead of giving away one of my copies. Because when I saw that I had 2 copies and one was a finished copy and one was the not for resale, and I'm like, I can't part with either of these.
You deserve them both.
Right? I mean, shelves. It's another excuse too to go out and buy more shelves too.
Ooh, sorry, I lagged out there a little bit.
That's okay. Why don't you tell us about
I thought you were just
Slattery
spacing
Falls?
out there for a second.
I'm sorry, were you guys saying?
Here goes Brennan.
See ya later, guys. I'm out. He went to go get his Christmas sweater. That comment, Tyler, I laughed so hard. I was at work when that came through, and I'm sure my colleagues thought that I was crazy because I laughed so hard. All right, moving on.
Well, I was texting Brennan trying to convince him that you and I were going to be in Christmas sweaters and that he'd be out of place if he wasn't.
He
didn't believe me though.
You weren't very convincing. I did know, because I've seen him on a couple interviews, and we were talking about this before we started about how he always dresses to the nines, like 19th century detective about to wander the streets of London and solve crimes. I said I'm gonna show up in a sweatshirt and I'm gonna be underdressed. So I actually kind of prepared for this. So
yes,
I am ready for you. I do not have a Christmas sweater. I do, however, have my favorite Christmas tie on. It is a Jerry Garcia.
Oh my goodness! You were seeing this now on my channel.
And your jacket too.
Brennan, you just made my day. Yes.
Yeah. This is where I get lost. This
is
where I wish I was just viewing this.
Now I'm entirely too overdressed, but that's okay because
suit up.
You are dressed perfectly.
Oh my goodness. And it's very Christmassy too. I love that. So fancy.
So
fancy.
Now we can get started.
Okay.
It's official Johnny. Now. We have started now.
That reveal, it was like Superman or something,
I do feel like I'm on a job interview all of a sudden.
Yeah. So what are your qualifications? Why should I read Slattery
I'm not qualified for anything.
Okay.
I was going to say, I'm not that professional. When I come on here, it's just me talking with friends. So I don't even know how to even start. What would you say is a very positive thing about you and a very negative thing about you?
Oh, I hate that question. That's right there. That's right there with what are your strengths and weaknesses, and you have to do the Michael Scott answer of I care too much, and I work too hard, I stay too late after hours, and no, not doing that.
Let's be honest, we all lied, right?
What's that?
Let's be honest, we all lied, right?
Yes,
we all
of
made
course.
ourselves sound like
Nobody
complete
tells
pros.
the truth in a job interview. You wouldn't get the job.
Oh gosh, you guys are hilarious. You are welcome on any time. Next time, somebody else be the host, so I can just sit back and watch. Okay. I actually got to watch. Well, Brennan, I missed some of yours, but when both of you guys were on Ross's channel, I loved those. I went back and caught the first half of Brennan's, and then I was able to watch the second half. And Tyler, I was there from start to finish. I
Awesome.
love those, and I learned so much about both of you guys that I didn't even know. And I don't know. I saw somebody post some time ago on Instagram this thing that said, if you love a piece, or you have a favorite author, don't ever meet them. And I don't agree with that, because I love getting to meet you guys, talk to you. I could understand, maybe if you'd be disappointed if they were complete jerk or something, but I find getting to talk to you guys just makes me that much more excited to read your work. And when I do read your work, I can see your guys' personalities come off the page and your quirks and everything. So I really enjoy getting to do stuff like this. But moving on, Brennan,
Really
I'm sorry.
kind of you.
Tell us about Slattery Falls.
All right, so Slattery Falls takes place in my home state of Massachusetts. I kind of created a town out in the middle of the state, even though I'm on the southeast coast. But that town doesn't necessarily figure in until a little bit later on the book. I found out that some people were very confused by the fact that they didn't know why it was called that until, the halfway point. But it follows a couple of college-aged amateur ghost hunters, Travis and Josh, and they are pretty much just bored with college life. They meet at a party and they decide they're going to pass the time by kind of exploring haunted locales. And our narrator, Travis, doesn't really have much experience with it, but Josh is pretty well versed. And they kind of develop a friendship, a bond, and through doing things like that, having some experiences, one that really,
Did we lose him?
We did.
Oh no, he'll come
briefly.
back.
Momentarily.
He'll come back.
While he's gone, I will chime in and say that Slattery Falls is a fantastic book.
All right. Sorry, guys, I'm
welcome back.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No
all right.
worries.
So, what part did you lose me on?
You were just I'm trying to remember now. I was so captivated.
You were talking about the two main characters and how they decided to go ghost hunting. And
The go-getter. The
go-getter.
Yeah,
so,
the go-getter.
they kind of develop a bond, a friendship through that, and then Josh's cousin Elsie joins the fray, and they kind of bounce around New England, hitting various haunted houses, and they have a really nasty experience at one in Connecticut. And from there, we kind of back off of it because it's almost like this is too much. And at that point, we kind of leave the back cover synopsis. We jump 10 years in the future, and we find out that that whole experience that they just ran into was only the beginning. And that's where, we end up with our heroes running off to the titular town of Slattery Falls.
And then things get crazy.
And then things get crazy.
Really crazy. From the sounds of it, I've heard nothing but incredible things about it. Seeing people post about it, put their little comments up, reading some of the reviews. It's really exciting. And I was telling you backstage that when I see something through Silver Shamrock, I get so excited because I haven't been let down at all with Silver Shamrock. Everything that they put out, it's just the covers, the formatting, the little inside art with the chapters, the stories, the authors are all killing it. So I got very excited. Absolutely.
Yeah. Ken McKinley and Kenneth Kane, they do a great job over there. I really have nothing but good experiences from putting the book together, from the editing to the, having my input through all stages, from the cover design to the interior art. They do it right. They absolutely do small press horror publishing right.
I agree. Does it ever confuse you, Ken and Ken?
No, not once you realize that they're not in fact the same person, that they are two different people. Then then you can start to keep them straight. One has hair, one does not.
That's a good way to be able to put them apart. I actually have heard a few people say that they didn't realize that Ken was two different people, and I don't know. I always thought that there were two different people, so I guess I was on the right track. I was the right one. Everyone was the confused one. I don't know.
Everybody else is wrong. You're
yeah,
fine.
That's right. I'm the great one. Everyone else is. Am I better than everyone?
Maybe.
No, far from it. Okay, so a question I like to ask, which comes up every time on my channel, is: did you know you always wanted to be an author? And if so, what pulled you into going the dark way, the horror, the suspense, all of the creepy stuff? Tyler, do you want to go first? We'll jump right back in with you.
Okay. Writing, boy, right away. I knew right away. When I was about 7 years old, maybe, I remember the first time that I became aware of things like books and movies and music, these art forms were being created by people. And the way that I figured that out was Steven Spielberg, because I loved Indiana Jones and I loved Jaws and I loved E.T. And at some point it clicked. This is the same guy making this stuff. Like there's a guy and his name is Steven, and he is I don't know what directing is, but he is making this movie, and it'd say on the posters, a Steven Spielberg film. And that was the first time it clicked for me. Like, okay, people are making this stuff, that a book or a film can be the vision of someone specific. Mm-hmm. And that began my interest with, okay, if I like something, who's the person who created it? Yeah, and I just always loved writing. I always loved telling stories. I would get in trouble at school sometimes for when we were supposed to write personal essays. I'd lie and write something more interesting. What happened to you on your summer vacation? And I'd be like writing something that had explosions and monsters in it. Like, Tyler, that didn't happen. Prove it.
Maybe it did.
Yeah, maybe. What
in
do
my
you know?
Imagination.
Yeah. But that was always more interesting to me, and at the older I got, the more that solidified into, we live real life, and there's a lot of effort that it takes to live. And when it comes to fiction and writing, I want something else. I want something different. And boy, with the dark stuff, I have this firm belief that we cannot choose what we're drawn to in terms of art. Whoever our favorite bands are, our favorite authors, we didn't decide that we're going to love them. We encountered whatever it was they created, heard the song, read the book, and just connected with it on a deep level. And that's how it was for me with horror. I've always been drawn to that stuff. The turning point for me was It. I read It in 8th grade on a church trip.
I keep hearing this over and over again when authors say that, horror authors particularly, that they read something by Stephen King, like something, like mind-changing, bending at a really young age. Yeah. And I love it. It makes me excited.
My dad had a bunch of Stephen King paperbacks when I was a kid, so I was aware of him, but I just thought, oh, it's adult stuff that dads read. And then I was on this church trip. So I grew up down in Southern Oregon. Where I live now is Portland, which is at the top of the state. But down in Southern Oregon, I was going on this church trip, which was we were going to drive all the way up to the San Juan Islands in Washington and stay at a cabin on this island out there. And we get in this big Ford 15-passenger van. And I was sitting next to this girl that I'd never met before, and she had her backpack open, and I saw the cover of this like dark, wet street with a sewer grate and this green claw coming up from the sewer grate. And I was like, what is that? can I look at that? She's like, yeah, sure. So I pulled it out and I just opened it up to the first page and read. And this trip from Medford to the San Juan Islands is about a 8 to 9 hour drive. And I did not stop reading the entire way. And once we got there,
No.
I didn't participate in anything. I just went and hid in the corner and read this book every moment I could. And from that point on, I sought out everything that he wrote, and I was hooked from then.
I love that story. I absolutely love that story. And the fact that you read it for the whole drive and still wanted to go and run away, I didn't even read it that quickly.
I get car sick too if I'm not driving. So I was probably just I couldn't stop.
Oh man, it's a really good story. My favorite here, Pet Sematary was my first King book, and James says my first favorite book by King is It, and read Carrie at 7 or 8. Yeah, so that's what I mean. Everyone's reading all these King books at such a young age.
It's a special book too. I think I've come to the conclusion that it's a book that can only be experienced as a book. No matter how many times you adapt it as a film, it never quite captures whatever it is that's contained in that book. Whatever we bring to it in our imaginations and in our life experience, we bring something to it and like meet halfway with the magic that is that book. And I don't think any film adaptation will ever do it justice. It can't. Did she get her book back? Yeah.
I thought you were going to be like, no.
Because
right
if memory serves, she had been reading it. So I had to make sure. I think that might, if it's been so long now, I think that might have been part of the motivation too, to finish it before the trip was over, is that I knew I had to give it back.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't steal it, Tim, if that's what you're implying.
I would have. I mean, go buy a new copy. I was so captivated in your story, though, that I completely forgot that you had asked her if you could read her book, and I didn't even think to ask if she got it back. I love this comment that Marcus said when Stephen King was asked why he writes horror. He just replies, "What makes you think I have a choice?" And I love that, because recently I read My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones, and there was one line in there that just said, horror is a love affair. And I wrote that down. And I've kept that in my brain forever since I picked it up, since I put it down, because I thought it is. Absolutely. It is a love affair. And people that enjoy horror, whether it's films or reading, you just get absolutely consumed, and you can just eat all this delicious, amazing goodness so quickly, so easy. And horror's always, I don't know, it's always captivating. There's always something going on. Even if it's a little bit of a slower part of a story, you're really, diving into the character or the storyline, and it still captivates you, and it's still it's like a blink of an eye and it's over, and then you don't want the story to be done, and you want it to come back, and you don't want to put it down.
Yeah. I think horror as a genre, the people who write it and the people who read it,
perfect.
At least in my experience, yeah. I think we're all trying to process something that only horror can address.
Yes.
Whatever the monsters are, whatever the ghosts are, I think that's a genre that exists for people who maybe subconsciously are just it's the only genre. And there's so many variations of that genre. Like sometimes when someone asks what I write, and I to make it simple, I say horror. And
but it's so much
you always
more
get
than
that kind of like that look, but once you explain, well, I mean, think horror can be a ghost story.
Yep.
Or it can be a guy with a chainsaw wearing a mask made of human skin. Like there's this range that it contains so much. So it doesn't, I think people always go straight to just blood and guts, kind of just grossness for the sake of grossness, while neglecting the fact that it's always been about so much more than that.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many subgenres, and even having like realistic horror. You know, you pick up a book that may be fiction, but it's loosely, you know, reflecting somebody's past, you know, of stuff that they had to go through, you know, from sexual abuse to just having any type of abuse in the house to racism, everything. Like there's so many different subgenres. People will say, oh, I don't read horror. I would never touch the stuff. And I'll often look down at what they've got in their hands and I'm thinking, what do you think that is? There's subgenres of horror in there. Or what's your favorite book? Oh, I love this book. Guess what that would be classified as? There would, you know, there's so many subgenres. There's so many mashups when it comes to horror. And I always call myself on my channel saying I long a time ago said that the two genres that I would get rid of is horror and sci-fi. Because at the time I thought I hadn't found my space in the world yet. And thanks to Jason at Jason's Weird Reads, he's like, what are you talking about? There are so many subgenres. You can't tell me that you haven't you haven't really truly dived in and found out what there is. And then that's when I connected with the indie world, and it was indie and small press. It was you guys. So thank you. Brennan, I don't want to leave you sitting there as we're chatting and I haven't got to you on that question yet.
No worries. I think that's such a great point about, you know, anybody who says that they, you know, don't do horror, like, and, you know, it's going to sound like I'm throwing shade, but I really do think they just have a narrow view of it. And it's just from that lack of experience, lack of experience, but also, you know, that understanding that it doesn't have to be blood and guts chucked in your face. It certainly can be. And, you know, that's enjoyable. But there's certainly quiet horror with a whole lot of nuance. There is the, like, you know, slasher with the impossibly bright red blood. You know, there's so much. And I dare you to present, you know, any book that you do read but don't consider horror that has zero horror elements. I don't believe they exist, because it's conflict. It's self-exploration, and it's conflict, and it's, you know, the spice that makes stories interesting. It's my 2 cents anyway.
I agree.
As far as the, you know, did I always know I want to be a writer? I'm not sure I could have an answer much more different than Tyler's. So my answer is no. Like, absolutely not. I, you know, loved my Goosebumps in, you know, elementary school. And once I hit junior high and high school, I just like completely fell out of love with reading. And I think it's the typical story of, you know, English class saying, read these books, and me saying, these books suck. They are long, they are boring, and they are not about anybody like me. They're not, you know, relatable. And it took me until probably 21 years old to really kind of find my love for it again. And it was, hey, Josh, Chuck Palahniuk really kicked that into gear. So, you know, being able to talk to him was just something I never thought I'd be able to do. And then, of course, you know, I fell on the King bandwagon. First King book I ever read was The Gunslinger. And then I think I plowed through the entire Dark Tower series in maybe a month. After that, you know, The Stand for a little light reading. And I just,
that's exactly what that
I blew through it from there. And I think I've asked probably 130 people or something like that how they got into horror. And, you know, Stephen King is typically dabbled in there, you know, once, more often than not. And, you know, his books do run the gamut, you know, like we were talking about. Horror is it's a universal experience. The spice kind of drizzled over everything. And, you know, you're not just reading the same exact story in his stuff. You can go from a book like The Gunslinger to The Stand. And despite the fact that they even have some of the same characters, they're just completely and utterly different stories. And, you know, I've always been a creator. You know, my day job is I'm a music teacher. I hear something and I want to try it. I see something, I want to draw it. I want to take part, as opposed to just sitting back and looking. And writing was something I wanted to do for a long time. And I just felt like I didn't have the tools. I didn't know what to do. That was for people who went to school for it, who, you know, did well in sophomore English, who, you know, knew what passive voice meant. I hope to learn that someday, honestly. But it was just something that I kept putting off because I just didn't think it was right for me. And, I hit a point, I think it was August 2019, where I said, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. And I just started scribbling in a notebook. And,
Look at you now.
yeah, I mean, throwing down 5 pages and then putting it aside, shoving it away and saying, okay, you don't know what you're doing. Close that notebook, maybe burn it just in case somebody finds it after you die. But, I would walk away from it for a few weeks. I would come back to it for a few weeks. And, 6 months later, I had the first draft to this half written in,
Wow.
longhand form. And a couple short stories as well, some of which are not out there yet. But honestly, they're some of my favorite things I've written. And, I'm going to throw them out there someday. But so, I mean, that's kind of how I came into it.
Well, I love that
awesome.
story. Yeah, you guys inspire me so much. I'm not an author. I'm not the talent. I just feature the talent. But listening to your guys' stories and just your passion that you have to, you're kind of wavering. You're not sure if you want to do it or if you're even capable of doing it. And then you just go for it. And then it just happens. And just to be able to see the process from you guys just starting out and getting bigger and bigger and getting more notice, and to see your books scattered all over. I mean, I've already admitted I'm a creeper, but let me tell you, I get excited for you guys, and I get proud for you guys when I see it. And it can have a little tear here. No, I'm just kidding. But I get so excited, and you guys inspire me to, well, how else, except for my inspiration's a little different. It's okay, well, how else can I get these guys out there? How can I promote more? What's a different idea? What next can we do?
Which is so cool, because that's a form of creativity. I mean, you are creating something. You're gathering people around you. You're using your skills, your gifts, your love of something in a way that is really special. So it's all an act of creation, I think.
Thank you. I never really even thought of it that way. I just thought of it as social media. And
the importance of that stuff, it just absolutely cannot be understated, because nobody wants to look at my Twitter all day with me saying, hey guys, my book is really good, you should buy it. They don't believe me. They need somebody, they need somebody unbiased to come in and say, hey, no, he's not full of it. This actually is pretty good. So, like, what you do is appreciated by us indie authors, and we love you guys. We love the reviewers, because you don't get paid and you still have to put up with garbage from maybe some of the people who don't appreciate you as much as you deserve.
I haven't come across too much garbage. I'll be honest, because I fall in love with almost everything that I read, and I've actually had people say, you lie in your reviews, and I'm thinking, no, I just have such a vast reading taste that it's very hard for me to find something that I don't enjoy for some reason and doesn't captivate me for some reason. But no, the community here is fantastic. Even to putting together the dream team. I called them the dream team one time, and now it's stuck, and it's stuck there forever. I was telling Andrew, the book dad, horror oasis, dark lit. I don't ever know how I should address him, because he's a little bit of everything in the community. I was telling him that today. I said, I was joking around one time, but now it's just kind of stuck forever. They're always going to be known as the dream team. But I've wanted to do something like that for a long time, because I've taken part in those process through, like, when I was reviewing for larger companies like HarperCollins and stuff. We would do a lot of that, the Bookstagram tours, the blog tours, all of these things. I've done it for a few small press companies, and I'm like, how can we make this something that is out there for the people that don't have access for that, whether they've independently published or whether it's not something that their small press publishing company does. But I could not put that into reality without the community. So they are just everything, the cherry on top. Without all of these fantastic people that absolutely love you guys, it would never happen.
And from this end, man, it is such an enormous help. Because Brennan, maybe you feel this way as too. as well. But one of my biggest fears when you're doing things independently is you put something out there or make an announcement or share something, that fear of does anyone care? Like, am I just just throwing this into the void? And it's helpful when someone reminds you, yeah, there are some people who care and we're willing to help spread the word. It
absolutely. There's a lot
I'm not
of
sure
us.
how to articulate it, but it's not only heartwarming, but it's encouraging.
Well, it's just to show you guys that you guys mean something. And did you know that you guys are now shaping and forming new writers that are just starting to come out, or they're a little nervous to take that leap, or they've got something they want to write or a story to tell and they don't know if they want to start it, or just like you, just a little while ago back in 2019, Brennan, where you weren't sure if you could even do it. There's new people out there that take inspiration from you guys and say, if they can do it, I can do it. How does that make you guys feel?
I think that's, absolutely clutch. I mean, that's the
I
biggest
haven't...
piece of writing advice I would give is just do it,
Did you just say clutch? I haven't
did.
heard that word in forever.
I'm sorry, am I dating myself?
Yeah. Oh yeah, shoot.
It's rad. Cowabunga. I mean,
I don't even know if they say epic anymore.
my as somebody who routinely works with kids between the ages of 6 and 11, one of my favorite things to do is use outdated slang and pretend to be confused when they use newer stuff. I don't know why it gives me such a kick, but yeah. So despite my poor word choice, I mean, I think it's I think it's awesome if somebody can, hear that I didn't know what I was doing and I said, oh, well, I'm going to try it anyway. And now, I have a book out in the world. That I am pleased with the response to it. It does seem to be pretty well received all around. Tyler Jones blurbed it, but I think he might have been lying. I don't know that he actually liked it. I sent him a check for $15.
I didn't even read it. I just said, Brennan, just type up whatever you want me to say and put my name on. It's fine.
but I do think it's so important for anybody who wants to try it to just go for it, because you may try it and say, boy, I really hate this. Like, I just want to go back to reading. Or, you may find that you do have that skill set after all, and it's not something being, held just out of your grasp at a collegiate level. And you can't, possibly write a book unless you have, a master's in creative writing or something like that.
It can happen. Yeah. Absolutely. Look at you guys. What about you, Tyler? How does that make you feel knowing that you're shaping new future writers?
I love it.
I love that. Pause for the suspense.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, I was just thinking that I've been writing longer than Brennan has, but our first books came out not that far apart. I mean, in context, within a year of each other. But I was inspired by seeing what other people did. I've talked about it before, but seeing what Gemma Moore did with self-publishing, and Keelan Patrick Burke and Adam Caesar, seeing what other people had done and thinking, well, maybe I could do that too. And any facet of that someone else could take from what we're doing, I think is awesome.
I couldn't agree more. And I find that, indie isn't really seen as a dirty word anymore. More people are diving into it. I have more and more people that add me on like Instagram. Today, I just had a gentleman add me on Instagram, and he was looking at my page, and you get people that say, like, I've never heard of any of these books, right? I'm like, it's indie and small press. Well, I haven't really dived into that yet. You need to, hands down. And it's absolutely no hate against, like the large press, traditionally published, because I read that too. But the indie and small press world, it's so different. It's unique. It's raw. And when you are an avid reader that reads anywhere from 150 to 160 books a year, this is what you need. And the concept can be, close to something you've read or seen, or a movie or film that you've seen before. But it's just your own little twist on it that will just make the whole entire story different and unique, and just like this, I don't want to say palate cleanser, because that would be like just like a quick, easy read in between, but it just makes it raw and different and unique. And it's absolutely needed, because it's hard. The world has got everything in it already. It's hard to take a story and make something different from what's already out there. There's so much. I'm going to just quickly jump into these comments here, because I've missed some of them. Andrew is the man, da man. I agree, hands down.
So I can't say clutch, but Mike can say da man.
No, he can't. Get that off the screen.
Yeah.
It's da bomb.
Da bomb. I thought it was you the best. I thought that was like... And he said the bee's knees at the same time.
It's the cat's pajamas, Mike.
You dig? Oh, thank you, Marcus, so much. That is so sweet.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Marcus.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
One other quick thought about indie horror. What you were saying got me thinking. So recently, I was searching online for a Christmas gift that I wanted to get someone, and I wasn't sure exactly what it was and if it even existed, if I was just making up something that I thought should be out there. So I did a search, and I ended up on Etsy. I've never been on Etsy before. I don't spend a lot of time online. I'd heard the name, but I'd never been on the website and looked at anything. And so anyway, I started seeing all these creations made by extraordinarily gifted people.
Yes.
That you would never walk into a store and see. And yet they are talented, and what they're making is unique and raw, and so very much alive with whoever that creator is. And I think of indie horror as the same way, in a sense.
Oh, she warned us that would happen. Well, she'll be right back. So actually, Tyler,
after these messages,
I want to piggyback off that, because one of the thoughts I had about indie, and I think it definitely pertains to the Etsy thing too. Hey, welcome back.
Thanks. I'm glad it wasn't at the same time.
I really don't think, especially if you dive into independent books in general, I just don't think there's that much of a disconnect. In fact, I don't think there's really any disconnect between the talent level of people who are putting things out in indie presses and the talent level of people who are publishing through a big 5 or a big 4 or a big 3 by the time this goes live. It's I really think
For
that
sure.
you get the the talent pool is there. It's I won't say you end up with your book in Barnes and Noble, or even the shelves at a Walmart without being talented. You certainly have talent, but I think there's a lot of luck there too. You just
No, did we lose him now?
Yeah.
StreamYard just doesn't
No,
like us.
I agree completely with what he's saying. And what we see, I think, in indie too, is with big publishing, and this is said as an outsider, obviously I'm not in there, but they have to pick things that they feel will sell and sell well. So they are going to a certain extent, chase things that are similar to what has been popular in the past. And that's not a bad thing. That is what it is. But with indie, you get people who have the freedom to express themselves creatively without someone else saying, no, we don't think that'll sell. It's the writer saying, I feel strongly enough about this. I felt passionate about this writing, so surely there's got to be someone out there who's close enough to me in their experiences and in the way they process the world that this will mean something to them. So you get
Absolutely.
that. I think what he said is absolutely correct. The talent level is the same. I think the stories may be a little bit more. I don't know what's the term.
Delicious.
They're they're willing to do things. Yeah,
Bold.
you can take
Yeah.
yeah you
More
can take
risks.
risks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's because
you
you
know,
don't have to worry about, them pulling out something that they think is going to be a little too much for someone. And I get it. Like you said, larger press, traditionally pressed, it's their company. They want to make money for sure, and rightfully so. And they're going to put those things out that sell in that moment, and that's what they're going to be looking for. But it ends up being, for a reader that reads as much as I do, a cookie cutter to what it sits next to on the shelf. And not that I get bored, but I'm looking for something new. Like, I want to really explore the imagination. And that is where indie and small press comes into place. And you're right. You're right. The talent level is the same. In some cases, dare I say, way better. Okay. Yeah. You heard it here. Don't come for me, anybody.
I love to pick the brains of people who, so I should actually, so a good friend of mine named Ryan Mills, he created the cover art for my book Enter Softly. He reads a ton. He reads a lot more than I do. So I love picking his brain, and he'll tell me what he's reading, and I'll find out what he thought of it. And he's a really thoughtful reviewer, and he remembers things really well. So he can, I'm just constantly asking him, what did you think of this? Or have you ever read a story that has this element? Because I've got an idea. And he, with everything that he's read, he probably will know. But it's interesting to hear the thoughts of someone like that who reads a lot on books that are really popular, some books that come out and they make a huge splash, and someone who's read everything that's made a splash. It's like, yeah, it's another one like this. It's another thing.
Yes.
So it's interesting. Like what you were saying is that it's sort of, maybe if you read one, it can wow you, but if you read a lot, you see that it can be more of the same.
Yes. It's kind of like you can do that whole, well, if you read this and you liked it, try this. You can't do that with indie as well. If I'm looking and I'm trying to pick something out that's close to it, I have a really hard time, and I can find a very unique element in every story that I read. You may see some similarities or be able to compare it to, like, oh, if you took this movie and you mashed them together and made a baby, this is what this story is. But it's still so different. It's just, I don't even know how to explain it. All I can say is, if you don't read indie or small press, you need to. Flat out. It's incredible, and I will never stop telling people that and trying to push them in that direction. I like this
Slattery
question.
Falls is a great place to start.
Or I hear Almost
I need to send you another check.
It's okay. You can just PayPal him or something, or you guys have like Venmo and stuff there in the States, right?
Now, somebody who uses Clutch on a live stream definitely sends checks in the mail.
Listen, paper is paper, and it's proof that you're getting paid. So
it's true.
I like this great comparison with Etsy. Also, Michael, if you're still here, you were making me laugh so hard with those. Is Etsy a drug? I was trying to listen. If I'm ever giggling or laughing, especially if you guys are being serious in a moment or talking about something, that it's kind of hard because sometimes the comments are really funny.
Brennan fell asleep.
Oh, the
Welcome
poor guy.
back,
Oh,
sir.
he's back.
I'm back.
I'm sorry. I was boring you. You had to go for a snooze. It's okay.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I was just kind of hoping you would still be talking by the time I got back, so nobody would notice. But
no
right.
Weird pause.
You dropped out, so it was you kind of just making me feel more comfortable, and I appreciate.
We draw attention to it every time it happens. We don't just keep going.
Oh gosh!
Look at that jerk.
Oh man. Oh man.
Mr. Morningstar, is there a comparable platform
that helps? I don't think there is, but this would be an easier question for you guys. I don't think there is. I know that there are different platforms that you can use to like specifically put like ebooks on and stuff like that that's not through Amazon, that sort of thing. But I don't think there's something that truly pushes indie writing the same as people can go onto Etsy and show their impeccable creations on there.
Yeah. Not that I'm aware of. No. And that is that's a really good thought. If there was some kind of platform like that specifically for indie and small presses.
Like this right here.
In addition,
is handmade.
Hmm.
And it's 3D. And it's just a tumbler, right? But
wow, yeah.
And Etsy.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's good. I think that'd be an interesting thing to look into. Could a platform like that exist and be supportable? Because Amazon is helpful. Yeah, right. Get on it, Nikki. But Amazon is helpful at the same time that we indie writers, because a lot of us aren't in bookstores alongside the major publishing counterparts, that we sort of can be alongside them on Amazon. Our books can end up recommended if you look at something by a big writer. Customers also bought this. So there is that benefit of Amazon. I mean, I know we all like to trash on them for various reasons, but there are a lot of indie writers wouldn't be able to put work out without Amazon.
Exactly. And that's
so
what
it'd be cool if there was
is,
something like Etsy for indie writers, but not that I'm aware of.
No, and that's what hands down, I would be lying if I said I didn't support Amazon and spend hundreds of dollars monthly, because that's where I get the majority of my indie fix. That's what we'll call it. We were talking about drugs earlier there, Michael. But that's where I get my indie fix.
I like what Typical Books just said here, that with the small press, it's alive and writhing.
Yes, absolutely. That's agree.
A good way to put it.
Thank you for coming, Juicy. Hello. Sorry, just popping in the new people we've got here.
No worries.
Yeah, it's really hard. It would be really nice if we did. And I've thought about that often, is having a local store where you can hold, a good chunk of different indie works, but you could also sell online. That would be a dream to have, something where people could. Amazon is where I go, because I would love to be able to purchase right from the authors directly. But again, shipping costs is a big thing. You take into consideration the shipping costs plus the exchange rate, and you're paying to have like 2 or 3 of those books in hand if you were just to purchase them on Amazon. So it's so hard though, because so many people don't like Amazon.
Yeah, I bet though, if you took 100 indie authors and asked them, like, would you rather have a couple extra bucks in your pocket, or would you rather somebody read your book? I bet 99% of them would say, I would rather somebody be able to have the book in their hands.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. Well, I'll have to get on it, Mr. Morningstar. I'll have to create a website, connect with every single indie author out there, ask if I can buy, a handful of their books off them, and I'll have to, get a warehouse. And oh my goodness, listen, we're gonna have to remortgage the house.
That's a fun Saturday.
Yeah. Well, I'll have it up and going by Friday. Oh wait, tomorrow.
Well, on Etsy, from what I can gather, it's the creators themselves who ship the products. Mm-hmm. So if you had something similar like that, to where indie authors could sign up and you could search by, say, genre, and then sell books directly to the readers,
right?
It could be cool.
And then
it could be a cross genre platform. It wouldn't have to be specific to horror.
Have a small. My background is insurance, so my brain starts to wander to what's the legalities of this. There's things with selling online and shipping outside of your country and all this other stuff. So I'm thinking it would be a fantastic thing to create. But what steps would you have to take to make sure you were crossing those T's and dotting those I's, right? That's the first thing that I think of. But I think it could be a reality at some point. And I'll start looking into it, because that's the type of person I am. No promises.
Just make sure you take a lot of commission.
Yeah, but to me, it would be kind of like it'd be kind of like having like a subscription box. You know, you got like Nightworms and everything out there. Those fantastic subscriptions. They do the same sort of thing, except for they've got people that sign up each month. But I mean, you could reach out to authors and say, "Hey, can I buy 5 copies off of you to have?" And you can make a deal to sell them at author prices, that sort of thing, and then you could have them in your warehouse of sorts and sell them that way, right? So there's got to be a way. So,
The gears are turning. We can see
right?
them.
Yeah. You let us know when
I
you
know
find that
this
way. We're in.
This is not even what we're here for, but we're here to be talking and learning about Brennan and Tyler, and we're talking about how we can sell everyone's books.
Make it a business plan.
Yeah.
That's right. We better be quiet. Somebody's going to steal this from us. Yes. Yeah, Godless is one of them that I was thinking of. Yeah. Is to get those, or to have, like exclusive e-copies through Godless, that sort of thing. So I do know that there are other platforms that offer that kind of thing, but yeah. Okay, sorry, moving on. We have hit that hour mark though, and I usually try to make sure that hour mark that I check with you guys that you guys are okay. I know you guys have, families,
Absolutely.
lives. Okay. As
Yeah,
long as
I'm
you
doing
guys are
great.
still okay.
They're all sleeping. I don't hear anybody screaming in the other rooms, so it's fine.
Oh, you're lucky. How about inspirations? We've talked a lot about King this evening, which is, of course, he comes into many, many topics when it comes to talking about writing, specifically horror. But do you guys have any other inspirations out there when it comes to, authors, whether they're still alive or if they're dead?
Brennan, you go first.
Sure.
I'm curious.
One of my biggest, outside of, King, which got my feet wet in the horror. I love Kurt Vonnegut. I have read every book that Vonnegut has put out a minimum of 2 to 3 times. I just think the man was absolutely brilliant, very down to earth, funny as anything. Just, a perfect mix of a writer. And I like to think, foolishly and possibly arrogantly, I like to think that, I put a little humor into my work because I have been so influenced by him and loved his books so much. Honestly, I would I could sit here and name other authors, mostly in the horror industry, and say oh, I like McCammon's stuff, and I do. I think it's great. I am, for December, I'm rereading the Books of Blood because by Barker, because those are absolutely quintessential horror reading. All of that stuff is very, very influential. But for me, it's people like Vonnegut, and I love Joseph Heller too. If you've never read Catch-22, I feel like that's one of those books that I've definitely seen people get assigned it in high school, and that apparently missed me because I would have loved that. And on that, I'm actually reading a book right now that's coming out in limited scope in December. Josh Mallerman's Ghoul in the Cape, and for it's got all of that. It's this kind of like it almost feels like he was trying to write like the great American novel, but knowing Josh, that's not it. He just, started that on some sort of fever dream or something like that. But it's got those elements of like Vonnegut and Heller. It's got elements of like John Steinbeck. I'm about 150 pages from the end of, I think it's like 750 pages. And it's only coming out limited, but it's one of those things. If he gets a wide release, when he gets a wide release on it, it's really good. It's easily one of the best things I've read because it does take, the horror elements that I want to put into my own work, but it mixes it with a whole lot of a heart and humor, and really great characters that, if you took all of the horrific elements out of there, you'd still want to know what these two main characters were up to. You'd still want to sit in on their dialogue and their conversations. And actually, I'll throw one more in there with that last bit is Joe Lansdale. I came to him pretty recently, and
No.
I love Landsdale too. He's
Yeah.
a special writer.
Oh.
And he writes everything.
All right.
Welcome back. No worries.
So I was saying Lansdale,
Yes.
and the first thing I read by him was
Oh no! It's like that's it. No.
Suspense.
Everyone sit on it.
Yeah, Lansdale has this great quote. Somebody asked him once what kind of genre he writes, and he's like, "I write in the Lansdale genre."
Yeah.
That's a perfect answer.
Sure. Go. So, Brennan, you were saying your very first
it
read,
played
and then you
rude
cut out
trick
right
on
there.
me that time. It brought me back and then kicked me again.
Oh, no.
But yeah, so the first thing I read by him was a book called Cold in July, which is kind of like a crime thriller. But just the way that he tells a story with dialogue, the snappy, catchy dialogue that never gets obnoxious, but still makes you laugh and feels like it's being spoken by legitimate humans. It was. I read it twice, once to enjoy the story and once to, take a class, basically. And, everything I've read by him ever since is just, he's a brilliant writer, and he most certainly writes in the Landsdale genre. It's got that little bit of everything. And Mike, where would you start with a Vonnegut? Slaughterhouse-Five is a fantastic book.
Yes.
I try to read that at least once a year. The Sirens of Titan is really great. That's probably my second favorite. I really like Cat's Cradle. And even the short story collections are really excellent. But you pretty much can't go wrong.
Slaughterhouse has been on my list forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
It's a good one.
What about you, Tyler? Inspirations.
Let's see. The first one that comes to mind is Don DeLillo. He wrote White Noise and Underworld. He wrote a book about JFK is coming up again. He wrote a book about Lee Harvey Oswald. It's a novel though, called Libra. And no one else writes like him. His sentences are just something truly unique. If you want heart, if you want to feel emotion, you're not going to get that from his books. Whatever you're going to feel is what you bring to it, because he's pretty cold and distant, but his precision with writing is just unparalleled in my opinion. One of my all-time favorite writers, like if I were asked to pick an all-time favorite book, it's one of those impossible questions, so you just have to pick one. But my go-to is The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet by David Mitchell. I think David Mitchell he's some kind of wizard. He's some kind of sorcerer. Like, he's one of those writers where you clearly get the sense he is a genius, like an actual genius in how he thinks and how his gifts as a writer are just incredible. And that book is okay. So I'm a huge David Mitchell fan. I owned all of his books and I read them all, loved all of them. And I saved The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet for last, because if you read the back cover, the description of it, it sounds so boring. And I just thought, it takes place in like feudal Japan, and it's about the Dutch trading company, like opening up trading lines with Japan. I don't care. That sounds terrible.
Until you picked it up.
Yeah. Well, I read all of his books, and I that one was just sitting on my shelf, and this was several years ago. I was like, okay, I guess I'll give that. I mean, he hasn't let me down yet. And I read the first chapter and was just absolutely hooked. And then I went through some sort of weird, dream tunnel in that book where it's one of those books that I know I read it, I remember reading it, but it exists in my memory in the same space as dreams do, where they're hazy and they're full of feeling more than they are details. It's just a remarkable book, and he's an incredible writer. But I find a lot of inspiration in music as well, in lyrics, in phrasing. I like the way that lyrics don't have to make sense. And I like that they can use poetic turns of phrase that elicit emotion without making much sense, you know? And some of them are really creative. They use words that maybe as when you're writing, you wouldn't necessarily use that word or a combination of words. And rock and roll in particular, or I just feel it's got some energy to it that I find inspiring. There's so my all-time favorite band is Oasis, and there's this great story about they were play, I think somewhere in England, like maybe Nebworth. It was 50,000 people gathered, and there was a journalist there who was present to document the concert and everything. And they finished the concert and they came off stage, and they were going to go back out to play an encore. And this journalist asked Noel Gallagher, who is the guitar player and songwriter, about the lyrics to the song Champagne Supernova. And you remember there's that lines like slowly walking down the hall faster than a cannonball. And the journalist said, like, what is it with these lyrics? They're just nonsense. And Noel said, just you wait. So we're going to go back out there for an encore. And when we start playing that song, 50,000 people are going to start singing it back. Tell me then that it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. Yes.
So like rock and roll can use these combinations. It makes me think of that Kubrick quote where he said that the truth of a thing is in the feel of it, not the think of it. And sometimes as writers, I think we can get too caught up in thinking and overthinking that it's good to let loose and just let the feeling flow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Johnny, you're right. Joe Hill does love The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet as well.
Well, it's going to have to go on my list because I haven't read that. You guys are adding to my already humongous, massive
you know, it's
TBR.
one of those books that I like what you did, Brennan, with Vonnegut, where you said you just read through all of his stuff. Yeah. I've always done that with writers as well. When I find someone I love, I will often read every book of theirs in order. So when I came to the Jacob de Zoet book, sometimes I wonder if my experience of it was influenced by the fact that I'd already read all his work. So I knew he's a tricky writer. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Yeah, he doesn't just he often doesn't tell just a straight story.
Yeah.
So I wonder sometimes if people start with that one, if they would have the same experience I did. I don't. But it's a book. Read it. It's amazing.
I'm going to tell you, Tyler, I have read and loved everything David Mitchell has put out. There is, however, one book I have not read that's sitting on my shelf over there. You want to guess what it is?
Read it. You're going to love it, man.
Yeah.
You're going to love it.
I don't even remember.
Is it the description?
I don't know. I don't remember. It's been years since I, read the last book that I read by him. And like I said, it's sitting over there. I've had it. I don't know why I haven't read it. Maybe it even looked boring.
Yeah.
Maybe I just didn't know it was pronounced de Zoet until right now.
It frustrated you. How do I pronounce this?
Damn it, Jacob.
Yeah. It's worth a shot, man.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
It sounds like it. I want to, just listening to you talk about it makes me want to just jump right into it and just get absolutely consumed.
Okay, so in the first chapter, what happened? No.
Okay, can you just read it chapter by chapter? We won't,
Hey, Phil, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And yes, I keep telling Phil he's got to read the Bone Clocks. Next book, Phil.
You don't have a choice. It's recorded here on the channel. It's got to be the next one you pick up. It's so hard because there's so many masterpieces out there that you want to read. And, you know, it's funny, I'll hear somebody talking about a book that sounds incredible. Either I haven't heard of it or I have, but I haven't read it yet. And I want to kick myself in the butt for not have reading it yet. And I think, no, don't give yourself a hard time. There's so much out there. It's impossible to consume everything in a short amount of time. But books don't expire. They don't go bad. So I'm the type of person that will go out and buy a book, knowing that I may not read it even for a couple of years, but it's okay. It's on my shelf. It's ready to go for when I'm ready to pick it up. Phil says he's in. He's in. Maybe we'll have to do like big buddy reads. Buddy reading helps, I tell you, because if you've got somebody else that's picking it up.
But the next live author event you do, Phil has to come check back in and report.
Okay. How far did you get in? Did you finish it? Where are you at? What chapter? I want proof. Send me some photos. Well, it looks
one
like
other thing I wanted to mention is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say that when we were talking about music inspiring the writing as well, even instrumental music. Like I love jazz, and I think the rhythms of jazz. I didn't write the book while listening to it, but I edited an entire book while listening to the same jazz albums over and over again, just for the rhythm, hoping that it would somehow permeate the rhythm of the sentences and how I edited things together.
Absolutely.
So that
I like that.
was,
Talking about the music, because James, that's what James does. He is a musician. He's actually got a channel where he plays his guitar, and he will read books and take inspiration from the books that he's read to create pieces of his own, which is really neat to see. And it's funny how if I've read the book that he's inspired by, that I can feel the vibes from the music. I can see how it fits, where he might have come up with that, that section. I don't have all the terminology that Brennan would have probably as a music teacher. But, you can feel the parts of the book coming through the music, which is really, really cool to see. And I mean, it's just another talent. I mean, there's so many talents out there. My OCD will not allow that. I buy a few at a time, and then I do. I'm sorry. If I've got the extra cash and there's something I want on my shelf, I'll just go out and buy it. Why not? Tyler, you had me at jazz. Yes. Okay, wait. Did you say that you just got them? Did you just get them now while you were listening? I gotta wait for her answer before I do anything. Okay, so I was going to do a fun question, but you guys kind of answered it with your inspirations. So
am I the only one not glitching right now?
Oh, am I frozen too?
No, I can actually see and hear everybody.
The show. Like 5
Thank God, it's somebody else.
It was all mine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I can see everything's on good on my side. Okay.
Oh, did it?
Well, then I gotta shake this. I need to go out and actually get one of those bells. I always joke when there's a sale or book that's purchased from one of the authors that's on, that I need to get one of those big bells, to ring beside me. But I just got some little Christmas jingle bells, so that works.
I love it.
Well, very cool of you.
Hyperactive, thank you so much for getting the books.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, and I hope you enjoy them.
Buddy reads. I don't know which ones you got, but I'm down for buddy reads. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, so I always ask one question at the end that's kind of a fun question, but you guys have already kind of answered that by talking about like your inspirations. I like to ask, alive or dead, who would you pick to have at your dinner round table to pick their brains? I'm assuming a lot of them would be your inspirations. So let's switch it up. And what if I asked any classic? It doesn't have to be a horror classic, but if you could rewrite any classic that's out there and put your own dark spin on it, which one would you choose?
I'm going to throw it to Tyler first because I want to think.
He looks like he's thinking too.
He can get away with the dramatic pause, though. I just jump in and start talking.
Oh.
So.
Okay, so a classic rewritten.
I've had people say like even like Secret Garden, and I'm like, I never even thought of that one being turned into something eerie. But I mean, Secret Garden in itself is a little bit on the eerie side.
Thank you, Hyperactive.
Wow, Nichi, you're throwing out. You gotta do the bells again.
I know. As long as you're not going to talk right away, because I don't want to cut you off. I feel like Santa Claus or an elf or something over here.
In the interest of time, I will just say the first thing that came to my mind was The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That was the first thing that popped into my head. I really connected with that book the first time I read it, and I've read it a few times since. And yeah, that would be a fun one to do something with. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I would read that.
And I'm giving a quick answer because I want to throw it back to Brennan.
All right, so this is obviously on my mind because we've been talking about it. I don't even know if you would consider it a classic, but I would do Cloud Atlas, and mostly by David Mitchell, if you aren't familiar. Mostly because I kind of already have it, a version that kind of moves through time and tells a series of interconnected stories, although it's with one object. And I plan to get back to that someday because I really loved the idea, and then I just got distracted by shiny things. But
damn those shiny things.
But yeah, Cloud Atlas moves through genres seamlessly, which is it can't be beaten. Like the way he just tells these different stories that could each stand alone as I guess a classic in whatever their field was, that are separated through time, and just so loosely connected. So I guess what I'm saying is I would write a mosaic novel, and I'm cheating a little bit. So
hey, it works.
We'll let you slide.
Yeah.
Have you heard him talk about that one at all and how he wrote that?
I have not. No.
So all those parts he wrote as novellas. They intentionally tell a complete story of novella length, and then knit them all together.
That makes all the sense.
Same with Bone Clocks, which makes those books seem like, okay, you understand how it works a little better when you think of it in those terms.
Well, okay, now I have to go out because I have a feeling that this is going to be like an all new favorite author for me too.
Yeah, he's great.
He's phenomenal.
Man, it's Christmas. I don't care if I'm supposed to be buying for other people. Listen, I got to get my book fixed. So, okay, a glitter cannon. Who is going to come and clean up the glitter every time I have to, set one of those off with the book sale? I mean, God, that would be a mess. But I love the idea. Okay, James has a question here. Before we have to do the giveaway before we run out of time.
Oh, right.
So James wants to know, where would you start with both of your guys' work? Well, I would start with Slattery Falls for Brennan.
Mostly because you don't have a choice. So yes.
And I will say that M had suggested Almost Ruth to him in the chat.
No. Well, thank you for that, Em.
Sorry, Brendan, you were about to say something there, and I cut you.
You know what? I'm going to throw out today, and I have not announced this yet, so you get an exclusive. But I just finished earlier today. I wrote the last sentence on the first draft of the sequel to Slattery Falls. Okay, so that is in first draft form. I'm going to let it sit for a month or two. And then I'm going to come back and say who wrote this absolute pile of garbage. And I'm going to try to edit into something comprehensible. So it's a ways off, but it's happening.
Congratulations, man! That is so awesome.
Yep.
You guys are both doing
amazing
things. Amazing things. I tell you, I'm like a little girl on Christmas morning. I tell you.
with bells and everything.
Yeah, with bells and everything. That's
Yep.
right. I feel like an elf or something. That's where
Criterium
I
is
started.
awesome. Love
Yeah.
Criterium.
I can't remember. I think I want to say it was Brad. But I saw somebody put a post of it on Instagram or YouTube or something, and I had to go out and get it right away. And I ended up diving into it. And then I checked out the audiobook too, and that was fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
James did a great job. Thank you, LJ. Yeah, I usually recommend Criterion, but now that Almost Ruth is out in the world, I think it depends on what you're looking for. Criterion is more a fast ride, a little bit high energy, I guess, and Almost Ruth has a little bit more space to go in depth in certain areas. So it depends on what you want, but Criterion is a good starting point. I just saw Morningstar's comment.
See, I'm telling you, they make you giggle and then you lose your concentration. I'm telling you. We haven't done it yet. We haven't won anything yet. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that now.
We did the giveaway and Brennan won.
I won.
As it turned out, his favorite King novel was Elevation. Elevation was the answer.
Throw people way off. Oh goodness, that's too funny. No, we're gonna do that now. But I would say, you know what, James? I always say it. Just get all of them. All of them. Go on a book buying binge and just get them all, and then you can sit down and you can pick by the cover or the colors or the text font on the cover and just dive into all of them because you're going to want to read all of them anyhow.
Or what Brennan said about Almost Ruth is on the back cover as well.
Exactly. Okay, this comment makes me die because
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Solving mysteries over here.
With all of his tech and everything, his nice mic and everything. It's like the modern day. Oh,
it's a good look.
Criterion a fast ride, no pun intended.
Every pun intended,
Oh,
Chad.
my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we have to get to the giveaway or else we're never going to get there because all these comments are just giving me life here, making me laugh. I'm going to have like a 6-pack by the time we leave here with all this giggling tonight, I tell you. This is my workout for the day. Thanks, guys.
I am down for more people dropping Criterion puns, though. LJ, I really liked that one.
I didn't even see that one. Did I pop that one up? I didn't even read it yet. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, just keep them going. Okay, so for those who joined later, the giveaway is for a copy of Almost Ruth and Slattery Falls. I don't know if I can't remember if I mentioned, but that Gemma Moore did the artwork for that.
I think I knew that. I shouldn't actual surprise because I did know that, and I remember seeing the cover and sharing it right away, and then just falling in love. Yeah, absolutely. I'm currently working on the back cover to Cannibal Creator.
We're inspiration.
Inspiration.
I can't wait to see whatever it is.
Oh,
it's probably mine and Brennan's heads on stakes.
This terrifies me.
So the giveaway is for these 2 books, open to the US and Canada. And the question was, you have to guess what my favorite Stephen King novel is. And we picked Stephen King because there's so many to choose from. So
I said 84, and I don't know that I was wrong.
No, you might even be a little low. So now we begin the guessing.
I'm just going to pop them up as they come in.
11/22/63 is a good guess because of how many times you have called out Kennedy.
That was a good guess. Actually, and while people are guessing, check this out. A friend of mine gifted me this recently. This is a newspaper, Washington, D.C. newspaper. from the day.
No way.
Isn't that cool?
That's excellent.
I have to say that earlier Heidi made a joke with trying to figure out your favorite, and she's like, "Can we Google it? Will it be on Google?"
You can try.
We've got it.
You know, I probably
Night Shift. The Dark Hat.
should we give a hint? Would that be fair? All good guesses.
All good guesses, but none of them are right yet.
Okay, as soon as I say it, how about this? It takes place. Wow, Johnny's got a newspaper from Dallas. Wow. That's
Yeah.
wild. That would be cool to see. Okay, the book takes place in Florida. We need like a Jeopardy theme or something.
Yeah.
Brennan, can you hum that, please?
Yeah, you're the music teacher. Oh,
Oh,
we
now we
lost him.
leave.
I was hoping you
You
guys
left.
would notice.
Oh.
I was
You
hoping
left
you would
right
just
as
give
I
a
asked
really
you to.
long clue and I would be back. But
It didn't even look like you were doing.
in Florida. LJ, ding, ding, ding! You got it, man.
Oh, and LJ was
That is
okay.
the
LJ
answer.
was the first one because it came in. Then it was Michael. Then it was James. But LJ was the first one.
man, I thought that would be.
Bravo, man.
I thought he had a fair few works in Florida, like post 2000. Maybe that wasn't as maybe that was a little more revealing than I meant it to be.
Yeah. Way to go, Lafaro.
Oh man.
As opposed to yours, it starts with a D.
Yeah.
It starts with a D. Yeah, that's not
Right on,
obvious at
LJ.
all.
You are the winner, so we will get you your prize very shortly.
That's exciting.
I'll reach out to you, LJ.
Congratulations.
I'll get your info.
Yeah, everyone would say it was, yeah. And then Michael came in, and then James came in, and I always feel bad. And then Heidi came in, and they probably all typed it all at the same time. But of course, there's that lag, and so LJ came in first.
Congratulations.
That's exciting. Man. Congratulations. I'm jealous. I mean, I have 2 copies of Slattery, but I would take third. Aw, boo his. You know what? It's just an excuse to go out and spoil yourself and get yourself a little Christmas present or something.
Yeah. Doom McKee's one of those ones that I don't think it gets enough attention. I tend to like I love so much of his work, but there's those books that aren't as well known. Like I love Doom McKee and From a Buick 8.
Yeah.
That book just I just love that book.
Well, he's looking forward to reading both, so that's very exciting. Congratulations,
Awesome.
LJ. That's an incredible win. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I don't want to take any more of your guys' evening because you have now sat here for almost an hour and 40 minutes with me, and I appreciate it so much. And everyone that was in the chat, you guys, I could barely even keep up with the comments, and you guys had me giggling, laughing. I'm going to walk out of here, and I'm going to have to give myself a face massage from all the smiling. It's been so much fun. You guys are welcome on anytime.
Awesome. Thank you, Nichi. This has been such a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. I find that, like an hour is a long time, but at the same time, it's not because it goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
And there's so much more stuff you'd like to ask and get to know. So anytime, you're welcome on. Thank you again so much. Typical Canadian for overly constant thanking and love and support, and that I always say I'm a handful. Like I'm like this overabundance of annoying love and sorries and thank yous.
Not annoying at all.
But
and
yeah,
thank you
absolutely.
to everyone who joined in and
Yes.
tuned in. Thanks for spending your evening hanging out with us.
I was just in awe. So many people in here gathering, asking questions, jumping in on the conversation, having a great time. So thank you guys all so much. Thank you again.
You,
Slattery Falls. I was going to go through all of yours. Criterium, Almost Rude.
That's good.
Just go pick up
Close enough.
all of Tyler's. Watch out for book 2 coming from Brennan. And yeah, absolutely. Go and pick up their work. Read it. If you haven't read it already, get a buddy read. Go get your book club. Whatever you need to do to read these books. Thank you so much for coming on and spending the time with me. It was a gem to get to know you guys more and hear more about your inspirations and everything. And I will let you guys all go. And congratulations again to LJ for winning.
Congrats,
the
LJ.
giveaway.
Nice job,
And
LJ.
thank you, Nikki. Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. You're welcome anytime. It flew by, but it was a blast. Thank you
I'll
guys
be back
so
next
much.
Thursday.
Yeah, right.
Anytime. Just hit me up and we'll get it started. Every day. Can I come on tonight? Thank you guys so much. We will talk to you guys later.
Take care, everyone.